The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, on Monday resumed duty after his annual vacation abroad. A statement by the CBN Director, Corporate Communications Department, Mr. Usita Nwanisobi, said the governor resumed with renewed vigor to perform his duty ahead of the first Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the year, scheduled for January 23 to 24, 2023. He also said Emefiele remains committed to performing the task before him in line with his oath of office and the policy direction of President Muhammadu Buhari. The bank further urged Nigerians to continue to support the policies of the bank aimed at ensuring a stable financial system and the Nigerian economy in general. The CBN governor's resumption follows reported attempts by the DSS, the Department of State Services, to arrest him. Meanwhile, the Department of State Services has denied invading the CBN head office in Abuja. Joining us on this show this morning to discuss the resumption of the CBN governor and the plot of his arrest by the DSS is Adeyinka Fusika, a senior advocate of Nigeria. Welcome to the morning show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining
inviting
us.
me. Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
Well, very quickly, the latest that was reported in the papers this morning, let's start with the latest information, is that overnight, from yesterday evening, that some policemen laid siege on the private residence, or whether it's official, on the residence of the CBN governor. Now, the FCT Police Command is not aware, so they claim. The first public relations officer, Muyiwa Adejobi, also says the Office of the Inspector General is not aware. Is it possible to deploy more than 10 policemen to anybody's residence and the police as an establishment, all the commands in the Nigerian police will claim that they do not know that this policeman, is there a ghost arm of the Nigerian police force?
Well, I think I read the report, and in the same report we are told that there is actually an order by a court to arrest him for contempt of court in another matter entirely. So it is not impossible that the policemen were there to for that purpose. But you know the way it is in Nigeria, people, you really don't know. You know, we have a rush of information out there on what is going on. So it's difficult for us to know what exactly the issue is. We read yesterday in one of the national dailies too that attempt was made to arrest him at the airport. There was deployment of military men to prevent the arrest. And you wonder what all the drama is all about. Arrest of one man, it's not waging war and all that. So why the army is involved, police is involved, DSS is involved. And we're not talking of interest of political parties here. In other words, maybe APC versus PDP, or in the old SDP versus what's the name of the other party, then NRC. So we are not talking of competing political interests. We are talking of institution of states under the same administration. And I don't know why they are putting the country through this, what I would call a disgrace. One arm doing something, the other one counter-ratting it, and so on and so forth. And then we have a president who is just, doesn't seem to be bothered about the whole thing, allowing everybody to run wild. That's what I would call it now. All the institutions of state are just running wild. And unfortunately, with apologies to one of the presidential candidates, it seems we are in a state of Bala Blue, Bala, and all that. So it's strange,
All right. Okay. So interesting times we're in the nation. So many things happening at once, and then this CBN governor arrest or unarrest, siege, no siege, is another drama playing out. But going back to the history of this, when the DSS had approached the court, the Federal High Court in Abuja, to get a warrant of arrest for the CBN citing terrorism charges, this was thrown out of court. And despite that ruling, the DSS has still, according to reports like this, made attempts to, whether confirmed or unconfirmed, lay siege at not just his residence, the CBN headquarters where he resumed on Monday, and his residents now, and now they're coming up with different things. What is the implication of this, despite a court ruling?
Well, yeah, one has to, the information available to the public would not be the same available to the security agencies. So I would be most reluctant to go into too much details. The action taken by the DSS, if you look at the letters of the law, permitted them to apply ex parte to the courts under that act, the Terrorism Act, to detain someone without for 60 days. Our National Assembly, when they make and pass these laws, I don't think there's much thought when they make those laws. They just do whatever the Constitution is very clear as to how you can detain a person, and if you detain, what you are supposed to do. A law of the National Assembly is supposed to be in tandem with the Constitution of Nigeria. It's not supposed to make provisions that will be in direct contradiction with the law, with the Constitution of the country. It says if you are detaining a person, if it's in an urban area, a city like Abuja, you can keep him for a number of, I think, 24 hours, and thereafter you must take him to court. If it's in a place where no court is readily available, a timeline is also stipulated. So for the National Assembly to have gone ahead to make that kind of law and say you go ex parte and take an order to detain someone for 60 days, I would think it's something that is that wasn't informed by much thought. Like most of the laws they pass these days, not informed by anything. It is when they themselves become victims of this law, that's when they begin to shout. But be that as it may, that was the law under which the DSS went to court to have him arrested. And the court in that case said, okay, even if the law says you have that power, you must at least share with the court some information that would warrant us. You can't just, it's not for the asking. You can't just come to court and say, give me an order, and I grant the order. You must share some things with the court to show that you actually deserve the order. In this case, you have shared nothing in your affidavit to show that you have, plausible basis for wanting to have this order. And that was the reason why the court threw it out. And you wonder, and in any case, the court said that you really don't need an order to investigate, arrest, and order. Why are you coming here to, when they were arresting, if they are arresting other persons, why is the CBN governor's matter so different? Maybe because of the office he holds, I don't know. When they were arresting Showore, came all the way from Abuja to pick him up in Lagos. They didn't take any order. They detained him. We were going to court to beg, and to even grant him bail became an issue. Agbajalingo, they went from wherever to Port Harcourt to do the same thing. They didn't seek any order, and they were detaining them for days without any order. So why in this particular case this is happening? So I said maybe because of the office is holding and all that, and would they be doing this without the knowledge? Even if they can share it with the court, wouldn't they have shared it with the president? Wouldn't the president know what is going on? Is he not his appointee? But like I said, you don't want to go into security issues. We don't know what is going on. It's just, we have a lot of drama. One day, one drama in Nigeria, So it's like a soap opera. We don't know by tomorrow. We may have left this, something else would crop up, and then we'll be debating it again. The thing that we can just do is to appeal to the president, the party in power, to save us from this. It's international embarrassment, really. CBN governor of your central bank, you're accusing him of terrorism, economic crime of national security dimension, and so on and so forth. And he's still in office. And the one arm of the government, the military, is protecting. It's either this, if the DSS make such an allegation without any reason. If the DSS is making that allegation without facts, that's serious. There's something wrong with the DSS. If, on the other hand, they have their facts, and then another arm of the security establishment, the military, as we read in the paper, I don't know, is deploying military men to prevent the arrest, then there's something wrong with the military. So what exactly is going on? And I think that's the challenge that, I would say you journalists will need to go behind here and find out. We are just consumers of news. It's what you publish, what you put out there that we read and we listen to. So it's a bit it's strange.
Okay. The Court of Justice Mariam Azan throughout the ex parte application.
Yes.
I think there was another case, maybe the Court of Justice J.T. Soho, that said, look, you cannot arrest, the CBN governor. Now, does the court of law in Nigeria, does it have powers to confer immunity on any individual whatsoever? And the second point is the point you raised about the president, because twice now you said, why is the president not intervening in the matter? Well, what will you recommend to the president, considering the fact that there have been a similar case before now with CBN Governor Lamido Sanusi, as he then was, before he became an emir. Now, he went to court, but he won in court, and the court even ordered that he should be paid compensation of 50 million naira, as the papers have reported. So what exactly will you advise the president to do?
Well, to the first leg of your question, whether the court has power to confer immunity on anybody. When this news broke, I was a bit shocked because, from what we saw, Emefiele himself did not go to court. It was one human rights organization that went to court. So Emefiele, and it was for the enforcement of Emefiele's fundamental human rights. All the others granted were not, for the protection or preservation of the right of the plaintiff in the matter. It was for the protection of someone who was not even a party in the matter. So I found it very strange. So the first thing I decided to do was, okay, because we can be making comments ignorantly, is to go behind and see what exactly did the court say. In other words, get the ruling or the judgment of the court. I wanted to know, were these parties, was DSS a party, was it an ex-party order, and so on and so forth. And the strange thing was that, EFCC, DSS, the Nigerian police were all made parties in the matter. And not only that, I also found it strange, the case was filed, I think, on the 19th of December. And by the 29th of December, 10 days, it was concluded. And I was wondering, the speed was amazing. Did they participate in it? And I can confirm to you that the DSS was actually represented in the matter by one, I think, Gambarawa or something, a lawyer. I'm sorry, I don't have, if I'm mispronouncing the name. EFCC was also represented by a lawyer. So if there were issues that they needed to canvass, they had the opportunity, let me put it that way, to have canvassed it so that, and guide the court not to. Now, there's a policy statement made by the judge in that case. I was one of those initially condemning it. But if you just permit me, let me quickly read out a portion of that judgment, and you'll see what I mean by. So now this is the portion that interested me in the judgment, and I think that the court was quite correct in that, because we see the way the security agencies abuse the rights of Nigeria. I'm not talking about other aspects of the case. There are, disturbing aspects of the case, but this is what the court said. It said, while the fourth respondent now is the DSS,
okay,
has the statutory power and right to carry out its duties, it must be in accordance with the law. Nothing stops the respondents from investigating Mr. Godwin Emefiele over any allegation. But it cannot without any prior investigation. Swoop on the said governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, or to covertly remove him from his office as the governor of Central Bank of Nigeria under the guise of fight of corruption or terrorism, financing, etc., like a common criminal. Of course, that's, a member of a class, trying to protect, they belong in the same way. You say, like a common criminal. Criminals are criminal. There's nothing. If Godwin Emefiele is a criminal, he's a criminal. I'm not saying he is. Yeah. So trying to distinguish between common criminal and all that. But the policy statement there is that you cannot without investigation. Now, he went on. The court said, as a matter of fact, the security agencies is not permitted to invite, let alone arrest a person, before fishing for evidence to incriminate him. The proper scheme of things is to carry out an investigation into allegations linking a person to an act before arresting, or detaining such a person, any other procedure other than this is an affront to the law and will be adjudged illegal. This is what they do. And you go to the police station and say, Dr. Abati is the complainant, Olumide has committed murder. Just the allegation. Without any investigation, they will arrest me. They have not checked, okay, who did he kill? What's the name of this person? Where's the dead body? Where is he kept? How did he kill him? What happened? On which day? At least verify all this before, and then you can then say, either invite me, or then if maybe I'm running away, I'm trying to escape arrest, then arrest me. But what they just do is they arrest people, go to the, DSS dungeons, police station, even the army. They arrest people indiscriminately, lock them up there, and then say they are investigating.
Including people who are accused of wandering.
Of wandering.
When wandering is not an offense under the law.
That's the situation we are in the country. So, irrespective of the views that people may hold, condemnation of the ruling and all sorts, I found that very interesting because this is what we confront every day. The only reason why it is different in this case is that it is not a common criminal. It is governor of central bank. So the court is now awake to its duties to say, no, you cannot do that. Go and investigate. You're a security agents. If the man has done something, you have all your facts. You have to get the facts. And in any case, once you have your facts ready, you charge the person. If we don't experience it in Nigeria, at least we read about what happened. What's happened in other countries where we, we try to mirror our institutions and all that. You know this case of this, what's it called? These people that do this fake, is it currency? I don't know. I'm not. I'm getting
money laundering.
Not money laundering.
Okay. Counterfeiting.
No, something they call money. It's not money. It's this American
cryptocurrency.
Yes.
Okay, you are talking about Sam Bankman.
For a very long time he was in Bahamas or something. Yeah. They arrested him. They didn't do anything. They were doing their investigation. The day they arrested him, he was landing in court the following day or 2 days after. That's what the Constitution of Nigeria expects. But that's not what our own security agencies do. They first of all arrest and harass and all that. They want you to come and confess that you've committed the offense.
But the second issue, so what do you expect the president to do?
Well, I wouldn't want to, the president has a lot of people he has appointed to advise him.
No, just for the purpose of our conversation. I know you don't need to send an invoice to the presidency. Just tell us what you think, because you mentioned the president twice.
No.
And I think the court also mentioned the president.
Obviously, I mean, I do believe that all the people he has put in place are advised, including the vice president, who is a lawyer. They must be advising him. Whether he listens to those advice or he has on them, we understand that once he appoints you, he just lets you run wide. You can do whatever you like. It doesn't seem to be bothered. I will not advise him. I will only beg the current administration. This embarrassment is becoming too much. National embarrassment is becoming too much. And after they leave office, we still expect Nigeria to continue. The damage they are doing is just too much. If they don't, they should at least care about the image of Nigeria, the continuance of Nigeria, and that should guide their. You cannot allow this kind of thing to be. I mean, and it's not happening for them. You remember the case, police wants to recruit. Police and the commission.
Yes,
they took
Police
to
Service
court.
Commission.
If care is not taken, they can even exchange bullet shots over who is recruiting, who is not recruiting, and we have a president. How can the police take the Police Service Commission or, either way to court? I mean, it doesn't, So we have a lot of instances like that. It seems that Nigeria is just like a rudderless ship. We are just floating. Nobody's in control. Everybody's doing what he likes. If you can, use your power anyhow you like, nobody will call you to order. Nothing will happen. I mean, it's a state of, like I said, I don't know whether the presidential candidate wants to say cacophony or hula baloo or whatever. We're in the state of bula blue, gala blue, where everything is upside down.
So
that's hate speech.
No. What I mean is that maybe that was what he was trying to, tell us. Do you understand what is going on in Nigeria? Nobody can understand what is going on in Nigeria.
So to make sense of all that's going on,
Yes.
Mr. Olumide Fusika, what are the options available to the CBN governor? So we've had lawyers, respected silks like yourselves. Mr. Adeyinka has also spoken on this matter. We've had a court judgment. We've had, CSOs. We've even had a court, we've had some human rights organizations going to court on this matter. Yet, we still have reports yesterday saying that the DSS or police, secret police have laid siege in front of his home for whatever reason. What options are available, or are Nigerians at the mercy of, state security despite a court ruling?
No, what I would say, I would rather put it this way: what option is available to the DSS? And I think I've answered the question. Do your investigation. If any crime is found to have been committed by him, charge him. The court did not say you shouldn't charge him to court for any crime. It says stop harassing him.
Yes.
So do your investigation. If you found anything against him, charge him to court, take him to court.
But also with Mr. Emefiele, because we call that...
He should resign.
All right, okay. So that's
why I say he should resign is this. It's embarrassing to him. I mean, how can the CBN governor of a country be accused of terrorism, financing, and what's it called?
Money laundering.
Money laundering, CBN governor, and those kind of things.
Is it fair for him to resign if he's innocent, if he deems himself innocent?
Well, if I were in his position, I would resign and then go. I'm not saying, if I were in his position, it's ridiculous now. CBN governor, terrorism, you are alleging that he's a terrorist, he's financing terrorism and all that. He's CBN governor. It's not just, like the judge said, an ordinary criminal. If even a sense of it, just of some impropriety of that nature, I don't know, but well, if it were me, I would resign.
The international community was wondering what's going on in Nigeria. But if he's innocent, why does he have to resign? But you said if it were
me.
Finally, so. Before we go, yeah. I saw a story. Olisa Agbakoba, your brother Silk, is seeking from INEC an interpretation of Section 134 of the 1999 Constitution with regard to who exactly is a validly elected president of Nigeria. Is it the person with the highest number of votes, or with the largest number of votes, or with majority of the votes? And the majority of the votes within Section 1341, does it apply to the Federal Capital Territory? I thought, why should Olisa Agbakoba be directing the explanation to INEC?
It wants... if he's written them a letter and he doesn't get it, I think it's preparatory to going to court. It's like a preaction letter. If whatever response he gets from INEC, if he's not satisfied, he will take the matter to court. He's just preparing to go to court on the issue. But I would think that I'm not a judge. We are not having an election for the first time. We are not running an election for the first time under this constitution. I think maybe it's an attempt to take us back to the old 12 2/3 thing under the 1979 Constitution. Of course, the Federal Capital Territory is part of Nigeria, and they just want clarification from the court as to whether it will count in determining 2/3, 20, what percentage, whatever, in 2/3 of the states of the federation. Maybe it's just to clarify the law. Okay. Go to court on it. So.
I hope that Section 134 doesn't this time around become a booby trap for the outcome of the elections.
Anyway,
thank you very much, Mr. Adeyinka Olumide Fusika. I think that's the correct pronunciation.
Fusika.
Fusika.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much for joining us on The Morning Show.